welcome. Let's start off with a little chant, a meditation, and time to drop in and just find your breath. Center down into your body and center into the breath. Maybe close your eyes and just for a moment, let yourself hear the Shiva chant, the chant of inviting the energy of transformation, birth, rebirth, as we are today. Rebirthing ourselves anew, each moment, each breath, and with this practice. So closing your eyes and listening to the Shiva chant. Om Namah Shiva. Om Namah Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shiva. So welcoming into a new day, and even in this time where there is a pandemic going on in the world, you notice that spring hasn't been canceled. Today is Easter Sunday. It's also the time of spring bursting forth, and it is unstoppable. So that's the energy that we want to bring in today. That's the energy we want to celebrate and we want to call up in ourselves. If you haven't noticed, out there in the world, in the gardens of gardens, there are little tiny sprouts that are coming through, little sprouts that are pushing their way through the surface of the earth. And that earth is hard and dense and compact, and yet this seemingly tender little tendril that comes up through the surface of the earth manages to make it through. It finds the light. It finds the crack in the soil, or it finds the crack in a pavement or the sidewalk to find its way back and up into the light. And at this time, we're also celebrating how these little tiny chicks, these little tiny chickens are finding their way through the shell. They're pecking through the shell. The hardness, the appearance of a real obstacle. And so are we. We're in the appearance of a seeming obstacle, of being confined, of feeling like we're walled off, maybe even from each other, or maybe even from parts of ourselves that are pecking at the inside of the shell of ourselves and saying, I want to be born, I want to resurrect, I want to emerge into the world. And so with the yoga practice today, maybe we can invite that into our world, into our intention, to let the heart express itself even more wholeheartedly with the energy of spring with us and through us. All right, so let's come on up into standing. And for those of you that have the balls, meaning these balls, for those of you that have these balls and you know how we warm up the bottoms of our feet with them, you can do that. I also wanted to offer an option for those people that might be watching it that don't have a little, this is a squash ball. For those that want to order them, you can probably find them easily online, a squash ball, and it has the right give and size for the bottom of the foot. In our last video, we worked with them, but this time I wanted to offer you another option. So, I'm already starting to get warm, so I might as well shed this, and we'll put this aside. Okay, so we're going to start out actually with a movement that is just stepping in through the different, imagine that there was a clock, you're standing on the face of a clock, and that if you stand and step forward with the left foot, you're stepping onto the 12. And then if you step over a little bit over, you're stepping toward the 1. And then you step over a little bit farther and you're stepping towards the 2. All right, and then you're stepping out and you're stepping towards the 3. And this is just a warm-up, just to go through these different angles of the hip. You're working with balance. 5, right? Meaning the number 5 on the clock. And then back to the 6. And then we're going to go back through those numbers so that you're going through the positions that your feet are going to be bearing weight in a slightly different way with each angle. And it's just a nice little way to warm up, especially if we don't have the balls to warm up the bottoms of the feet. This is another way to do that, okay? So then step back with the left foot, back to center, and then let's go forward onto the 12 with the right foot. I'm mirroring you, so I'm actually on my left foot, but you'll be doing this mirroring me, so you'll be on the right foot. And just letting the shift of the weight move through. Yeah. Just warming things up a little bit, kind of shifting gears, bringing your awareness down into your feet, down into the earth. Maybe feeling what wants to spring forth through you as you are entering into this idea of what wants to emerge, what wants to bloom, what wants to bud, what wants to spring through you. And going up into the numbers closest to the 12. And just feeling that sense of shifting back to center and how your feet might feel a little bit more contact with the mat, with the earth, and energy going down through your legs. Now we're going to start with a breath, a pranayama, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And we're going to bring our arms up with an inhale, raising the arms up. Imagine you are a seed expanding up into this, toward the sunlight. And then we're going to bring our hands together and bring them in front of the heart with the exhale. The next breath, we're going to bring the arms out. Imagine that you're opening your heart to the world. And then as you exhale, turning the hands down and bringing the hands down to the thighs. And you notice each time that I do the inhale, I extend the legs. And then I exhale, softening into the knees. Inhaling. We do this several times, really opening up the breath. Settling in, settling down. Maybe gazing up as you raise the arms up overhead, and maybe bowing the head down slightly toward the heart with the exhale. Maybe reaching and opening the front of the chest with the inhale, and then letting the shoulders drop back and down with the exhale. 3 more times. More times. Last time. Just slowing yourself down and bringing the hands back to heart, prayer position, or namaste. And just pausing, just feeling that sense of connection to the beginning of your practice as we begin the warm-up and dive a little deeper into the sensations and experience within. So we're going to start with opening up the joints, and opening up the joints by circling your left ankle outward. And there might be a snap, crackle, pop in there as things start to move in ways that they haven't. Circle inward. And then shifting the weight onto the ball of the foot and then rolling the toes under so you're stretching the top of the foot. Rolling through that several times just to warm up. This is an unusual place where we don't usually stretch the tops of our feet, but we'll need that for our upward dog movements and other movements later on. All right, just feel the difference between that left foot as you settle it down into the mat and then circling the right ankle out. Circling it out and feeling. Maybe there's a little bit of movement that wants to happen that feels a little different than the other side. And then the other direction, circling in. And then rolling on to the ball of the foot and then stretching the top of the foot. Breathing and feeling how your body can slowly just drop into an anchor into the feet now. Maybe feeling a little bit more openness, and so that I'm doing this with my hands because somehow it's easier to splay your toes when you splay your fingers at the same time. So splaying the hands, splaying the fingers, splaying the toes, and anchor the toes down. Then think of and see if you can feel the four corners of your feet, meaning the inside, the outside of the ball of the foot, and then the inside and the outside of the heels. So you're really feeling that sense of both balance on all 4 points of the feet, but also that you're feeling this balance between, and maybe you'll rock yourself forward and back a little bit, or maybe you'll even rock from side to side just a little bit to be able to find that place where you're evenly balanced on both feet, on the whole foot of both feet. Okay. Just bring more subtle awareness to ground, which is really important right now. We need to find our root system, right? To be able to grow into the spring that blossoms, we need to anchor down into the roots first. All right, now into the knees. Let's circle the knees around, and as you circle them around, maybe thank your knees. Say thank you, knees. I love my knees. Knees have worked for us for so long in so many ways. All right, and go around the other direction, circling around. In fact, actually, yoga practice can be a very much of an opportunity to go inside and say, thank you, body. Thank you, all the parts of me. All right, and now let's widen the stance just a little bit and then come up to our awareness into moving the hips. So we're going to circle the hips around and finding imagine that you are trying to go within the circle of an inner tube. So that you're able to touch all the parts of the circle of the inside of the inner tube as you're going around to even out the movement. And then try going the other direction. So you're circling the hips around, getting movement in the lower back, warming things up into the pelvis, and letting your lower abdominal area starting to engage as well in the core. Okay, and then come back to center. All right, now we're going to work with and open up the space in between the ribs and the pelvis. And so we're going to do a little swing. Now start out by just shifting your weight from side to side, maybe left to right. As you come to the left, swing the left arm in front. And as you come to the right, swing the right arm in front. So that you're starting to just alternate the arms, swiveling the hips, and then giving yourself a little bit of a percussive kind of tap on the backs of the ribs as the arms swing about. So you're really feeling this as a nice gentle nudge and percussion right on those areas right in the area of the back of the ribs. I'm going to turn around so you can see it. So that there's a percussion on this area of the body. This is where the adrenals live. It's also where your kidneys reside. And those are areas that can get really tightened up when we're feeling nervous, anxiety-ridden, and afraid. And there's a little bit of that going around right now. So we're just going to have that area just gently stimulated with the movement and with the percussion to help us alleviate any holding in that area. Yeah. All right. In fact, actually, let's do a little bit of what I kind of think of as the roundup for our Tarzan energy stimulated, our brave, courageous soul. So just tapping with soft knuckles on the rib cage, and then come up onto the chest, and just bound onto the chest. In fact, actually, if you want to make a sound with it, it's always fun. Kind of find your own inner Tarzan courageousness. And then let's let that percussion come up onto the shoulders and onto the back of the neck, so that you're actually doing a little bit of this kind of fingertip percussion onto the scalp, onto the skull, onto the head, onto the forehead, onto the brows and the temples, and then underneath the orbit of the eye and down on the area just above your lip, under your nose, and then down under the lip, above your chin, and then just brush off the face, and brush off the front of the neck, and maybe brush off the arms, and brush off anything you've been holding in and onto. All right, now movement of the arms, circling the shoulders back, alternating left and right, letting yourself feel that sense of movement of the shoulder blades sliding up and down on the rib cage behind you. And then lead from the elbows. When you lead from the elbows, you'll feel your inner arm as well as the armpits starting to get engaged, the muscles that are on the side seams of the body. And then extend the arms a little bit farther, maybe leading from the wrists, so that you feel that sense of opening, elongating, stretching even more the side seams of the body. And then lead from the fingertips, a full back crawl, swimming stroke, extending through the fingertips, extending through the side seams of the body, really starting to warm everything up through the leg and all the way through the arms. And then let's reverse that, so that you're going forward, cross crawl, feeling that stretch, movement of the shoulders, movement of the spine. Warming things up, and you may even feel there's a little cardiovascular movement going on as you start to bring that heart beating a little bit faster. Okay, leading from elbows now, and leading from shoulders forward. And then just roll the shoulders back and down, let your neck be long, and interlace your fingers. We're going to place our fingers back behind the neck, and then we're going to use that as a support for the neck as we start to circle the head and neck. So circling chin first to chest, and then ear dropping toward the shoulder. And then as you come back, think of lengthening the front of the neck, and then coming over to the other side, and circling down. So this isn't about trying too hard. This isn't about cranking the neck. This isn't about efforting. This is just about taking the neck through a gentle range of motion so that you can start to feel more comfortable and warm up the body before we get into other postures. Now find a place that's a nice stretch. Maybe hang out there in a stretch for a breath. And then circle the other direction. So if you started out going to your left, then circle around to the right. This time, become aware of how it is that your jaw is in relationship to the back of the head and neck. Letting your jaw relax, face relax, eyes relax. And then let yourself come into another stretch, maybe a counter stretch to what you did on the other side. Or just finding a place that feels good, that really wants a little extra lengthening and opening in the back of the neck. Alright, then coming back to center. And release the hands. Let's do one more cycle of the breath that we began with, that inhaling the arms up. Exhaling down in front of the heart. Inhaling out and forward. Exhaling down to the thighs. And then just close your eyes. Just feel your body now. Feel how things have started to warm up. Just noticing the difference already. All right, and now we're going to move into something that if this is new for you, it seems kind of silly, but it's really fun. I learned it from a 2-year-old. I call it the 2-year-old grounding exercise. And it starts like this. You start with your feet parallel, just hip distance apart, and then start to just give a little bit of a bounce by lifting the heels a little bit with the bounce, letting your knees be soft, and letting your lower body start to relax. And then with that, it cues the rest of the body to start to relax. Arms can let go, shoulders can let go, belly and all of the spine can let go all the way through the crown of the head, and then even through the face, so that you can let yourself start to make, as only a 2-year-old can really do masterfully, a sound that has no reason at all other than just to feel the sound moving through your body. So find a vocalization for yourself. Maybe just I call it like the caveman sound, the kind of sound, just letting that energy coming through you, so that you can let go of anything you've been holding on to, let go of this week, let go of the push, let go of the resistance, let go of all that you don't need and no longer serves you. Yeah. And then just pause, close your eyes. Feel that in your body. The world just changed, or your relationship to it just did. All right, from here, bring the hands up overhead. Interlace your fingers and press the palms up to the sky. As you do that, maybe your elbows can extend, or maybe not. But that's okay. Just extend the arms as far as it is that you can, and feel a nice stretch through the arms, through the shoulders. Now, with this, I want you just to feel like you're more like a willow tree right now, and letting yourself just kind of sway in the breeze with this movement. Stretching gently with the swaying in the breeze, shifting the weight from side to side. And then with it also, letting your arms start to circle. Maybe like you're creating a small circle on the ceiling above you with your palms. And then maybe making a little bit bigger circle on one side, or maybe on the other side, I don't want to make this a little bit too prescribed other than just letting yourself start to unwind. Stretching through one side, stretching through the other side, opening fluidly through the torso, through the spine, through the shoulders, and then bringing the hands in front of you. Now the tendency is for all of us to have one way that we fold our hands. So notice which index finger's on top, and then fold them again with the other index finger on top. And stretch out, lift up, and we're going to continue with this again, but this time see if you can extend even farther. See if you can lengthen even more. Lengthen in through the back of the neck, through the crown of the head. Lengthen down into your legs, into your root system even more. And feel that sense of the dynamic stretch through the side seams, through the front, through the back, through the legs. Yes, all of it. Excellent. And then reach the arms in front and let that go. Now as you do that, feel that in your hands, feel that in your arms, feel that in your shoulders, feel that maybe even into the back of the neck and the jaw. Feeling that movement through your whole spine. All right. Now what we're going to do, feet parallel, but about shoulder width apart. We're going to reach the arms up into a V. Now this is the victory pose. This is a pose that is a universal position for all people who are feeling like, yes, I just did it. And if you can imagine you having that energy rising up out of you, feeling that sense of victory, like maybe that little sprout feels when it breaks through the surface of the earth, or that little chick feels when it breaks through the surface of the egg to hatch itself. And you get to break through the surface and extend upward into this victory pose. Now there's a slight lift of the head and bringing your focus so that you're gazing up towards the horizon, and your arms are extended straight out of the shoulders, even out of the fingertips, and pressing down into the standing legs, feeling that sense of ground, earth, and support. Yes, you did it. Feeling that sense of the victory in you. And then bringing the arms down. And then what we're going to do is turn the feet out about 45 degrees, still feet about hip or about shoulder width apart. And then we're going to bring the hands up again. And this time we're going to bring the hands up not with interlaced fingers, but with fingers so that the tips of the fingers are pointing toward each other. Now as you do this, you can really feel a stretch in through the inside of the hands and forearms. Now a lot of us have been spending a lot of time on the computer, and so those muscles really want to stretch. So let's bring those up, bring the palms pressing up, and having the fingertips face each other while gazing upward in between the fingers. Again, think of extending through those arms as far as you can, that's comfortable. And then with this is what I call the Happy Buddha pose. So if you've ever seen the Happy Buddha, usually he has a big belly, and he's a happy belly Buddha. So think of pressing down and opening up the front, and the front belly gets to be soft, and breathe deeply into that as you extend the arms up, like with absolute joy and playfulness, as the Happy Buddha can embody, and finding that happy place in you, finding that smile in you, finding that sense of yes in you, and feeling that extending into the world through your belly, through your heart, through your hands, and down into the earth through your feet. All right, and then bringing that down. Now we're just going to shift the feet again one more time so that they're parallel again, but really at the very edge of the mat. And then we're going to press down into the floor so that you really feel that sense of engaging the outside of the legs. So this is when they're loose, but then I'm engaging by pressing down, and then I'm pressing my feet away. So I'm sinking into the mat and then pressing down into the earth. opening up and engaging the stance even more in my lower legs. And then think of lifting up through the pelvis. So you're lifting up the pelvic floor, squeezing up or cinching up the musculature of the pelvic floor. Now, so you're still pressing down and out, and you're lifting up. And what that'll do is that there's a slight lift that will happen in if your pelvis is slightly tilted out. As you bring up the pelvic floor, this kind of angle will happen so that you'll feel like the pelvis is actually tucked and your tail is tucked under you, so that we're squared off in the hips and the pelvis, as opposed to tilted too far. And you're not tilting so far that you're too far forward, but just so that tail is dropping straight down towards the floor. All right, so pressing down, pressing out, lifting up, tucking under. Feel that length through the front of the body. And then we're going to place our hands so that they're loose fist at our hips. As you do that, think of pressing down into the hips. As you press down into the hips, you can open up the chest a little bit. Just gently bringing the elbows back, just slightly behind the rib cage, opening up the front body. And then lifting it up through that heart, letting it shine. And this is what I call the Wonder Woman pose. So you're feeling that sense of, yes, I got this. I'm grounded, I'm competent. I'm confident that I can do this. I am here. I am really available right here, right now, present and attentive. So that's the energy that a lot of us need to conjure in our lives right now, especially when faced with things that are so different in our schedule, in our life's work, as well as challenging situations that are arising. So feeling that sense of Wonder Woman energy, that sense of openness, ground, confidence, and security in yourself as you can do it, whatever it is. So feeling that energy of Wonder Woman, and then releasing that. All right, just come back to center for a moment, bringing your hands back to the heart center, closing your eyes, and just feel the difference in your body already. Now we're warmed up, right? Now we're ready to practice. All right, the first thing we're going to do is, if you have one of these balls, find your ball. If you don't, it's okay. We'll do all the postures without the ball. But if you have it, it's just a nice prop to bring even more awareness to the inner thigh and letting ourselves activate those inner thighs. So above the knee and between your thighs, we want to squeeze the ball into a position that isn't bulging forward and it's not bulging back. So in other words, you're squeezing the ball evenly with the front and the back of the inner thigh, so that there's an even squeeze, okay? So you feel that activation. We also want to feel that sense of all 4 points of the feet making contact with the floor. And we want to have that lengthening or tucking of the tail slightly so that there's an opening through the front and back of the lower back. And then bringing the arms up overhead. We're going to bring them up overhead, palms together, and then interlacing the fingers with the index fingers pointing up. This is called temple position, like this is the steeple on the temple at the top. And this is leading us into a version of mountain pose. So mountain pose, the basic posture of all standing postures, is feeling this sense of ground that is as wide and vast and strong as the mountain's bottom, right? That you feel that sense of infinite support through the earth. And you also feel that sense of extending out and up toward the heavens, piercing through the clouds beyond what you can even see. So feeling that length above and the length below, the opening through the front, the opening through the back, all the way through in mountain. It's a good focused posture. Shifting your gaze, as we will with all other balancing postures, shifting your gaze to a focal point that doesn't move, so that it will help you kind of stabilize yourself visually that way. All right, from here, we're going to reach up with the inhale and exhale over to your right side. So you feel that sense of lengthening all through the left. And we need not go too far. Really, just go as far as you can so that you feel that stretch, but you also don't feel like your breath is compromised. So you're going over straight over to the side. You're not kind of tilting forward, but straight or back. But you're going straight over to the side, even keel. Both head and neck travel in that direction as well. So you don't need to tilt the head and neck either. Let everything come over directly to the right side. And then inhale yourself back up to center. And pause there. And then lift up with the inhale. And over to the second side. As you come over to the second side again, it may not be that it's so far as it's that you find that stretch where you feel that sense of the movement of the ribs. There's space in between the ribs. As you arc over to the side, it opens up the whole side seam from the armpit all the way down to the outside of your right ankle. Breathing and feeling that. See if you can enjoy it. Feeling the extension and the curve. And then breathing back up to center. And then letting the arms come out. And down to your sides. Go ahead and close your eyes. Just receive mountain and half moon postures in your body. Take a couple deep breaths and just feel the difference. The next thing that we're going to move into is standing squat. So if you're not warmed up yet, you probably will be after this one. Extend the arms straight out from the shoulders and gaze over your fingertips. Now we want to have the movement be square with the shoulders, our arms square with shoulders, but the movement in the lower body we want to have square with the hips. So letting your knees track directly forward into a slight bend. Now, as you come into that bend, think of sliding down a wall with the back body. So you're sliding down straight back, not arching forward and not arching back, but just straight down. And as you come straight down, you'll feel a stretch on your lower legs. You'll also feel the quads or your thigh muscles engaging. They're probably saying hello already. So we want to just feel that sense of connection, planting the heels if you can, and sinking down even farther. You may even want to lift your toes and splay them, and then let them land, so that the heels make even better quality contact with this. So now we start to feel the heat rising, right? The heat is rising up the thighs, you're starting to feel it in your buttocks, you might start feeling it in your quads even more. And we're going to press down into the floor, coming back up, and let the hands come down to the thighs. Close your eyes and just feel the effects of standing squat. Heart starts beating a little faster, yeah. All right, and now we're going to extend that up, just another variation on the standing squat. So bring your arms up just as you did before, and this next time we're going to do is come onto the balls of our feet. So think of pressing down into the floor and lifting up onto the balls of the feet. As you lift up onto the balls of the feet, then see if you can lift the heels and drop yourself back down into the standing squat. But this time, with the heels lifted, we're working the bottoms of our feet big time. So we're working our feet, we're working our ankles, we're working our legs, we're working our thighs. And also, when we do postures like this that require a certain amount of effort, really, of focus, they start to develop the part of us that is willful. And the willful nature of us all needs to be recognized and harnessed in a way so that we can move through those shells we can move through the earth layers that we need to in order to spring forth into newness and birth in our lives. All right, so press down into the floor, lifting the heels up, and then let the heels drop back and down, bringing the hands down to your thighs. Close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths, just feel the difference in your body now. All right, now let's let go of that ball, if you have a ball. If not, then just pause for a second and just feel the difference when you're not in that engaging, in that squeezing. Can you feel your legs a little bit more? Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to warm up the legs even yet more, a little bit more by doing a broad, I have two mats here, one this way and one that way, so that I can do these postures and still face you and have options to turn if I need to. But what we want to do is, if you, depending on where you are and how you're watching this, you may want to have your feet on either side of the mat, or if you're not stable and you really need the sticky mat underneath you, go ahead and turn to the side. So we're going to start with our feet wide out like this, and then turn them out to a 45-degree angle. We're going to reach up into the sky. As you reach into the sky, we're coming into the star position. So one point of the stars through the crown, and we've got another star beam point here, a star beam point here, a star beam point, and a star beam point. So we're really feeling it. Even the tailbone can be a 6-pointed star. So you're dropping up, you're dropping up. You're extending up, you're dropping down, you're lifting up through the chest, lengthening through the arms, and extending down and out through the legs in the star. All right, and then we're going to come into goddess pose. Now the goddess is kind of like the Holy Grail. It's the chalice kind of pose, where you're bending in the knees, turning the knees out slightly so you really feel that stretch through the inner thigh, and you have the elbows bent so that the upper body is really receiving from above. So I love this image of the Holy Grail, or the goblet of the goddess, and she's receiving and she is manifesting. And she can receive the wholeness of the sky, receive the wholeness of the earth, and she can manifest through the heart, emerging into the world through love. So feeling that energy of, and the building up of energy in both the shoulders and the legs. And then let's extend that up into the star again. Little did you think that the star would become an easy posture comparatively, right? And then sinking back down into goddess. And then from goddess, we're just going to turn the arms down and place your hands on your thighs and see if you can drop into an even deeper squat. As you do this, go ahead and shift your weight from side to side so that you're opening up the inner thighs and letting your shoulders, maybe your shoulders can come up a little bit to the ears because you're sinking down onto the thighs and letting them be supported. Okay? Now from here, this is a sumo kind of squat, right? So we're in the sumo squat. And what I want you to do is to inhale, lift up slightly. Exhale, drop and rotate over to your left, dropping the right shoulder forward with the exhale. Inhale back to center. Exhale, dropping the left shoulder forward and twisting to the right. Exhale. Inhale, center. Exhale, down. Inhale, center. Exhale, down. Inhale, center. Exhale, down. Inhale, center. Exhale, down. And one more time to each side. and just sink down center. And let's see, maybe you can sink down a little bit farther than you were before. Shifting your weight from side to side. And then press down into both feet as you lengthen the legs and bring your feet back to parallel. Still facing forward and wide stance. We're going to shift down into the left knee and go ahead and place your hands on the left knee. Sink back, letting your tailbone and your hips slide back so that you're able to feel the deep stretch into and strengthening into your left hip. Now as you do this, you also, depending on how far you go into this, you'll feel a stretch through the inside of the right thigh. We'd like to have that happen as well. So sinking down and opening up through the inner thigh, and then inhaling back up to center. And then let's go to the other side. So sinking down, now the knee tracks directly over the toes of the right foot. And then again, the left foot is still parallel, so that as you come down, you'll feel that stretch all the way through the inside of the thigh. Inhaling. And now we're going to start to do this an alternated movement with the breath. So go ahead and bring the right arm in front and the left arm behind you as you come over. Inhaling up, exhaling, swinging the left arm forward. Inhaling up, exhaling across. Inhaling up, exhaling across. One more time each side. And then back to center. Now from this place, what I'd like for you to do is to turn the left foot out slightly. As you turn the left foot out slightly, actually, no, let's turn it all the way so that it's facing that left side. And then we're going to turn the right foot back so that the heel is sliding slightly back. But right now, we're in a position so that our feet, let's say that the instep or the heel of this foot is going directly to the instep of the other foot. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. So we're going to reach the arms out and then gaze over your left hand. As you gaze over the left hand, just notice if you have your arms so that they're right at the shoulder length, or right at the shoulder height, straight out of the shoulders. Then we're going to bend into the left knee. As you bend the left knee forward, coming into a version of warrior, as you bend the left knee forward, make sure that it doesn't go beyond a 90-degree angle. It can go less than, but not any farther than a 90-degree angle with the ankle. Okay? As you do this, see if you sink into the left heel and then press back and back behind you with the right heel. So you're activating that right leg in its lengthened state. Now right here, again, you're going to start feeling some heat coming up because warrior is another posture that really activates focus and will and strength. So from here, what I'd like to do is to bring the left arm down onto the thigh and then bring the right arm up, gazing at the arm overhead. Now another option, because this is a version of triangle pose, you can either lean onto the knee or you can extend the arm so that it's right on the inside of the knee and lengthen yourself down even farther. So you get a deeper stretch in through the hips and you're working your core even more. And then looking up at the right arm. Okay, and then we can come up by extending the front and bringing the arm back to center. Let's turn the feet back in. And actually we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So turning the right foot all the way to the side. Left foot extending back. Again, we've got that that nice balance between the two legs, thinking of pressing down and away from each other that gives us more strength and stability. Extending the arms straight out from the shoulders. And then softening into the right knee, giving yourself a sense of strength, but also noticing, be careful that you're not going to overextend that knee. You want to make sure that the knee is either behind or over the heel. Extend through the back leg, pressing the back heel into the floor, really feeling that dynamic press down and away, both through the shoulders and through the legs. And then coming down onto the forearm, onto the thigh. You can bring the left arm up overhead and gaze at the left arm. And you can stay there, or you can extend the arm, slide the arm down the inside of the leg. Fingertips may hover to touch the floor, gazing up at the left arm. It's a real dynamic here. Lots of core strength, lots of muscles engaged, all simultaneously keeping you upright. Okay, and then lifting up and bringing yourself back to center. You can either hop or toe heel yourself back to center, and then just bring hands to namaste and feel the difference in your body now. All right. From here, we're going to go down into downward dog. So downward dog, I'm going to do it this way first, and I may change over to the other mat, but we're just going to roll down. As we roll down, walk your front paws out to the front of the mat, soften through the knees, and then the hand position. Fingers are splayed, index fingers pointing forward. Give yourself some space between each of the fingers and feel the heel of the hand really making contact. Now we're going to walk back with the feet, and as you do, as you start to bear more weight in the front body, into the arms, check out where your elbows are in relationship to each other. We want the inside, or we can call it the eye of the elbow, the inside of the elbow. We want them to face each other or just slightly rotate forward, okay? So not so that they're all the way forward and not so that they're back, but just so that you feel that sense of maybe even bringing a certain amount of softness to the inside of the elbow. All right, back to the legs. Now we're going to walk through the legs, and walking through the legs, just dropping one heel and then the other. Letting yourself feel that sense of lengthening and stretching through the backs of the legs, through the calf muscles, through the heels. And then press yourself back so your ears are parallel with your elbows. And then lift both heels up and see if you can extend through the arms, lengthening the back, lengthening the tail. Imagine your tail really does extend beyond your body, and you feel that sense of a lengthening of the tail, and then dropping the heels back and down. As you drop the heels back and down, you'll feel, they may not touch the ground, but let yourself really feel that whole long stretch through the back body. Shift your weight forward. As you shift your weight forward, go ahead and come into a plank pose. Now the plank pose, I'm going to do it this way. The plank pose is a position where, just a second. The plank pose is a position where you're able to have that long line of the body. Shoulders and hips are in alignment, and you're feeling that sense of strength through the core. So lift the belly button up and toward the spine. So you feel that sense of engagement in your belly, and you also feel the engagement in your hips. So you're not dropping right now, you're keeping this lifted. Lift up through the heels and press back, stretching the bottoms of your feet, stretching your your crown of the head to the wall away from you, and then press back into downward dog. As you press back into downward dog, you may need to, like I am, readjust myself so that I'm in the right alignment and distance between hands and feet. Now from this position, what we're going to do is we're going to add what I call a flying dog. And the flying dog is like this, lifting the knee up, and then lifting the knee first up to the elbow, and then across, and then back up, and then back behind you, and then down. So anchor that foot down and lift the other knee up towards the elbow, across, and back, and extend, and down. Now, if it feels like your body's saying, I can't do this downward dog business, go ahead and do this on your knees. You can do it like this. Okay? So one more time to each side. Up to the elbow, across, and back. And up to the elbow, across, and back. All right, now, hallelujah, you get to go back down onto all fours and then fold the tops of the feet flat onto the mat and come back into child's pose. Let's bring the arms to our sides and just curl forward, letting the hips drop back towards the heels. And upper body surrenders into child's pose. Just letting go. Feeling that in your body. Feeling that sense of surrendering into the earth. Mama Earth's gotcha. Yeah. Okay. And then extend the arms, come up to all fours, tuck the toes under, and we're going to go into cat and cow. So cat and cow. Cat is the arched back, Halloween arched back cat. So curl the tailbone under, starting with the tails and then letting each vertebrae fold forward until the chin comes to the chest, into the arched back cat. And then uncurl, starting at tailbone again, and letting each vertebrae unwind until you're in the hollow back cow pose. Go back and forth, inhaling as you come into the cow, exhaling as you come into the cat. Listen to your spine. Slowly follow the spine. And let yourself unwind into releasing each space between each vertebrae. All right, now you're going to wag your tail from side to side. As you wag the tail from side to side, I call this the puppy. You gaze over towards the hip that you're curling forward. And you're working with unwinding the side seam of the body. Working with the obliques, space in between the rib cage and the pelvis again. All right, now step out a little bit farther. I'm going to step back a little bit farther. And let yourself have a little bit more space so your hands are in front of your shoulders. Okay? Got a little hair that's traveling. Okay, so now from here what we're going to do is we're going to scoop through, sliding down onto the forearms and pressing forward. This is a deep movement for the shoulder girdle, and so it's a really great strengthening for your shoulders, for the backs of the arms, but you're also, of course, working through the hips, you're working through the spine. So this is a really nice movement, relaxing and integrating. And now we're going to reverse that movement. So it's imagine that you're kind of like pouncing forward as you bring your hips forward, and then you bring the elbows close to the chest as you slide back and down. So it's forward, and then soften the elbows and bring yourself back and down. This is a good preparation for chaturanga if you're having a challenge with that kind of coming into, or it's a variation on a push-up that's a lot more user-friendly, let's put it that way, for this point in the strength of our arms for the most of us. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we're going to kind of add all of those movements together, but without really any kind of rhyme and reason other than just listening to the muscles of the body and the spine wanting to unwind. I call this the snake, and this is that movement that is both side to side, back and forth, up and down, as well as one vertebrae at a time unwinding. Again, kind of like the snake in its spiraling, kind of slithering movements. We want to keep the awareness that the top of the head is connected to the tip of the tail, so that following the movement is always this gliding, fluid connection between all its parts. Yeah, this should feel really good too. All right, from here, let's go into the child's pose. So flatten the tops of the feet out again. This time we're going to reach the arms way out in front of us. Let the hips drop back and down. And then let yourself surrender into the earth, forehead to the floor or toward the floor, depending on your body and flexibility. And then walk your hands out over to the right side. You may even want to place your left hand on top of your right, and then drop your left hip back and down, so you're really feeling a stretch through the whole left side of the body. And then walk the hands back through center and over to the other side of the mat again, this time crossing over right over left and dropping the right hip back and down. Again, getting a nice deep stretch, this time through the right side. And then walking forward, sinking back, maybe even walking your fingertips just a little bit farther forward until you get a nice deep stretch through the armpits, all the way down to your tail. And then let go, let the arms go, let the hips go, just feeling yourself surrendering into the earth. And coming back up slowly. Let's bring ourselves down onto our bellies. So when you come down to your belly, make sure that your legs have room to extend so that you're able to extend your legs back behind you, placing the tops of your feet onto the mat. And we want to have some strength and engagement in the lower body, partially to just have it be a whole body posture, but also to support and really save your lower back from having any tension as we do the next couple of postures. So how we do that is by pressing down into the tops of the feet, extend the legs down into the mat. Bring up the squeeze in the gluteals so that they're protecting the lower back by contracting the muscles of the hips. From here, press the pubic bone down into the floor. And then bring your hands so that their palms are down, flat down, elbows are underneath your shoulders. And press down like you are with the legs and the tops of the feet. Press down into the earth with the palms and with the forearms. Press down through the elbows, and then Bring the elbows as if you could slide, but you can't because you're pressing down too hard. You could slide your elbows down under you, and then what that does is that it lifts the chest up slightly. Feel the sense of lengthening through the whole front body as you press down into the pubic bone, press down into the legs, and lift up through the chest, lift up through the front of the neck. And feel that openness of the face. Feel that strength of your core as you're doing this. And then let that go. Walk yourself down and then bring your hands down to your hands directly underneath your shoulders. We're going to do another lift and strengthening of the back. So walk and see if you can elongate the legs out even farther, pressing them down, bring up the squeeze in the lower back. We're going to roll the shoulders back and down as if you could slide the shoulder blades down the ribs, and then keep the elbows really close to your chest, close to the rib cage. As you come up, think of lifting up through the head and neck without the support of, sorry, I have to curl my toes under for a second here just to stretch out the bottoms of my feet. When you lift up your neck, without lifting up with the arms, it gives the sense of strength even more directly to the musculature of the back body. And this is something that we don't do in our lives very often. So let's just kind of strengthen the backs of our necks here a little bit by just tucking the chin to the chest and then lifting the head and neck up. Tucking the chin to the chest and lifting the head up. And then look over your left shoulder and back, and look over your right shoulder and back. All right. Forehead to the floor, roll the shoulders back, elbows close to the chest, press down into the lower body, supporting your back. We're going to breathe in, and then we're going to exhale, press into the floor, lifting up through the front body, extending through the chest, feeling cobra and the strength of the spine. And then rolling back down. As you roll back down, turn your head to one side, bring your arms down to your sides, bend the knees, and crisscross the legs back and forth behind you. Just releasing any tension that might have occurred. Maybe turn your head to the other direction. Releasing any tension in your neck, also in your lower back. All right, now we're going to extend the legs and go ahead and press yourself back up onto all fours. Okay, we're going to open up the shoulders just a little bit more with the movement called thread the needle. Now thread the needle, imagine you are threading the needle between your knee and your hand, okay? And the other hand is the thread. And we're going to thread the needle down as you bend into the right arm and thread down all the way to the side of your head and the left shoulder. Now this position itself could be a wonderful stretch for your shoulder girdle. This might be your version of the stretch. So wherever you are, find a position where you feel like you can lift your right arm and you feel stable enough in that stretch. Now you're going to get a slightly different stretch if you angle your arm higher up or lower down or straight across. Find the placement that feels really good for you, as long as you're not compromising your shoulder or feeling like your neck is in some sort of a compromised state. So we want really just the weight of our body is on our shoulder, not so much on the head. Again, if this is comfortable, and only if it's comfortable, bring the right arm up. And again, if it's comfortable, you can fold that back behind you, opening up through it, enhancing the spinal twist of this posture. Bring the arm up, place it on the floor, supporting you, and bring yourself back up to center. Now we'll thread the needle to the other side. So inhaling, exhaling, sliding down, letting yourself find that placement where it feels like the shoulder feels like it's getting a nice stretch, the angle that's appropriate, as well as the position on the shoulder and on the head. If it feels right, you can bring the left arm up. And if it feels right, to tuck that left arm around, enhancing or creating even more of a spiral twist in the spine. And bringing the arm up, pressing that into the floor, bringing yourself back to center. And then let's just sit back on our knees. Now if it feels like sitting on your knees is something that your body doesn't like, it's okay, you can come onto your knees instead. We just want to bring ourselves back into a more neutral position after doing the twist. All right, from here, let's extend or bring the left hip forward and into a lunge. So again, we want to have the knee stacked over the ankle. So as you shift your weight forward so that that is a 90-degree angle or less. That means you may need to slide like I just did. Slide your right knee back. Shift the weight forward until you feel a nice deep stretch in through the front of that thigh. I'm going to kind of make mine just a little bit less because it was starting to get too much of a stretch for me. Now bring yourself up onto your knee. Yes, beautiful. Feel that length through the whole front. Yeah, very nice, huh? Lengthen up even farther by gazing up. And then coming back down again. Now if you want to, you can enhance this even more, make it even more of a strengthening as well as a stretching posture by coming up onto the ball of the foot of the extended leg. Coming up from there. And then to enhance it even more, only if you feel called, bring the arms up, even higher up. Okay, feeling that openness to the chest as well as it becomes a balancing posture. Okay, coming back down onto the knee. And then let's shift the weight back, extending the left leg. Extend as you shift your hips and weight back. And feeling that deep stretch through the back of the left hamstring. Now you'll enhance that stretch by flexing the foot. If you flex the foot or bring the toes back towards you, you'll feel even more of a stretch through the back of that left leg. And then fold yourself forward even farther. As you fold yourself forward, you'll feel the length of the spine, but you'll also think of, instead of curling the spine, think of lengthening through the crown. As you lengthen through the crown and lengthen through the heel, you'll feel even more of a stretch through the hamstring without compromising your back. And then let's shift the weight slightly forward and slide that leg back. Okay, back to all fours. And now we're going to go to the second side. Sliding that leg forward, finding that lunge that is just right for you, the space between your hips and legs. Again, knee stacks over ankle. You can stay here with your hands up onto the thigh and feel the stretch through the front of the thigh that way, through the front of the left leg that way. Or you can lift up onto the ball of the foot. Find the strength of dropping that back heel back and down so you're really getting a good stretch as well as a strengthening. And then bringing the arms up if that feels right. Opening through the front of the chest. If at any time you need to come down to your knee, come down to your knee or to the floor. Onto the knee and then down to the floor. All right, from here, extend the right leg and shift the weight back. Pressing through and lengthening through the back of the hamstring on that right side. You can encourage an even deeper stretch by flexing the foot back. Lengthening through the crown and opening up all the way down through the lower back. let's shift the weight forward, softening through the knee and bringing ourselves back. Cross the legs behind you and go ahead and extend the legs out in front of you. Bring your hands to your sides, right at your hips. We're going to go up into one of the postures that's a traditional posture in there's a series of yoga poses that are called the Fountain of Youth. And this is my favorite of the Fountain of Youth. And so here, let's see. Actually, I'm going to do it this way so it's easier for you to see me. So place your hands right next to your hips. And depending on your arm length and relationship to your torso, people are going to feel it's going to be easier or more challenging. You'll get it when I start to show you. So we're going to slide onto the heels, lifting the pelvis up and extending the arms down behind us. Now we want to have the hands so that they're underneath the shoulders, and so you feel that sense of lifting into almost like you're a tabletop kind of surface with your front body. And then we're going to swing back, hips sliding back to the original position. The movement goes with the breath. So you inhale up, exhale, extending, back and down. Inhale up, exhale, back and extending. 2 more times. Inhale up, and exhale back and standing. And this last time, actually, we'll just hang out there for a little bit longer up in the stretch. Inhale up, and take a couple deep breaths here. Feel that strength of extending through the arms, extending down through the heels, and coming back to center. You're doing so great. You really are. Let's shake the arms out. I got my wrists. Okay. So from here, I'll stay at this side. So we're going to go into the bridge. And the bridge posture is similar, but we're going to come all the way down onto our back. So we come down onto our back. Go ahead and bring your heels so that they're close enough so that your fingertips can find the edge of the heel. Okay? And then palms are down. And you're going to start by lifting or peeling the spine off the floor, coming into an arched back. Now this may be your version of bridge, lengthening through the spine, just gently tucking the chin towards the chest, lengthening and lifting the pelvis up and pressing down into the feet and heels, lifting yourself up even higher. Now if you have a little bit more range of motion in the shoulders, what we can do is bring the hands, interlace the hands, and walk the shoulders underneath you so that you're opening up through the chest even more. And then we lift ourselves up with the support of our arms underneath our upper body, and you can get an even deeper stretch. And also, this is strengthening, so it's really working your glutes and your hips and your pelvis. All right, then we're going to walk the shoulders out. And if you have a ball, then you grab your ball. If you don't, it's okay. You can do all of this with a flat back. The other thing that I suggest if you don't have a ball and you're going to do it on a flat back is that you actually bring your hands underneath your hips, kind of like this under your hips, and rest your hips onto the backs of your hands. It gives you your lower back just a little bit of extra support as you press in. We're going to do some core abdominal work. All right, so from here, you can place your hands down onto the floor, palms down. It helps to stabilize you because what we're going to do is we're going to lift the knees up and extend the legs straight up towards the ceiling. Now right there, you may feel some instability on the ball. And if it feels like the ball is going to be too wobbly for you, you can nix it. You can ditch it to the side. I really love using the ball because it really calls on the strengthening of the subtleties of the core strength in the torso, which I think all of us would benefit by creating even more core stability. So from here, what I'd like you to do is to bring the legs down until you really feel your abs activated. Some of us may need to bring our legs down a little bit farther. Some it may be just a hair down from straight up in the air. Wherever it is that you feel your abs engage, let yourself just hang out there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to crisscross, you can point your toes, but crisscross the legs a little bit farther down and a little bit farther up. Back up to center, or back up to straight up. And then a little bit down and back up. And back down and back up. Now, if you want even more, and especially if you have the ball, if you want even more of a challenge, extend the arms straight up. As you do that, it creates all sorts of instability, which is so great for your core to navigate. But like me right now, I'm going, whoa, how can I possibly do this? Right? And yet I am. So let yourself find that edge for yourself of finding the core stability, but also finding the challenge. Alright, and now what we're going to do is bend the knees. You can bring your hands back down to stabilize. And we're just going to do toe touches. So we're going to dip one toe down and the other coming up and going back and forth between the two. We're working a little bit different region of the core abdominal musculature with this movement. And if you want to make it more challenging for yourself, you can bring both legs down and both legs up. And if you really want to make it challenging for yourself, try that lifting your arms. One more time, and then draw the knees to the chest. Drawing the knees to the chest, you can lift up and remove the ball. And then hold on to the backs of your legs and let's just rock up. See if you can rock up to balance. See if you can stay there for a second. If you want to really challenge yourself, rock up and balance without holding on to your legs. There. Yeah. Alright, come back up. And let's see, one more thing that I want to do here. So I want to do the knee dropping forward, just leaning back on your hands and let your legs drop back and forth so you're really opening up the pelvis and hips just a little bit more. Okay. And then let's do a spinal twist on a supine spinal twist, meaning on our backs. So it'll look like this. So go ahead and come back onto your back. And then draw the left knee to your chest. And as you draw the left knee to your chest, just squeeze it, hug it up to your chest. And then let's cross the leg over the right side so it's coming all the way down to the mat. Extend the left arm back behind you so you really feel that opening through the chest. Breathe into the spiraling twist. And then draw the knee up to the chest. Let's switch the legs so the next knee comes up, the other leg extends, hug the knee to the chest. Draw the leg across, twisting the spine. Extend the right arm back behind you. Maybe even adding a slight twist by gazing over the right shoulder. Breathe in and feel this twist. All right, drawing the knee to the chest again, and then both knees to the chest. And let's go into happy baby. So we're going to hold onto the outsides of our feet. Actually, another option is to hold on to the big toes, which I kind of enjoy. Let the legs drop out wide. And then let yourself just shift weight from side to side, opening up the inner thighs, opening up the hips, the lower back. Just extending one leg, and then extending the other leg. Like a happy baby. Just rocking, floating. Imagine yourself being really that newborn as we are emerging into a whole new version of ourselves right now. All of us, all over the world. Alright, and then holding both knees back and down, opening up through the hips, and then bring the legs together. Let's hold on to the back of the thighs and roll ourselves up to a seated position. And now, if you have a roller, find a roller. If you don't, then you can either use a yoga mat, like another yoga mat that's rolled up and lean back on it, or you can use blankets. But what I'd like for you to do is to have it underneath and opening up the spine this way, lengthwise. So we're going to place it underneath us. Again, if you have a roller, you want to sit back on the very end of it. And I'm going to roll back so that the spine is supported all the way through the whole length of the spine, all the way back and down. Now again, like I said, you can do this with a couple rolled up blankets and tuck them underneath you. Whatever it is that you're doing, we want to really feel like this is opening us up through the front body and the chest, and we also want to feel like it's supporting the whole length of the spine, so that there's a feeling of your body starts to understand what a lengthened spine feels like. Because we tend to be hunched over in our lives so much of the time. So to be able to feel that length, but also the opening through the chest that's supported, that you're not having effort, you're not trying, you just are supported in that pose. Okay? So we're going to do that just for a few breath cycles. And what I want you to do is to do this with the breath similar to what we did at the very beginning, where you're bringing the arms up and toward the chest, and then open out and down to the hips. Just like we did really at the very beginning. Inhaling up, exhaling to center, inhaling out, and exhaling down. Find your breath and find the length of the spine. And one more time. And the next time that the arms come out, just letting yourself have your arms stay out to the sides. And breathe a few times, just feeling the opening through the chest. Couple deep breaths there. And then let yourself roll off. Roll off the bolster, roll off the towel or the blanket. And then if you want to, we're going to move into Shavasana now. So if you want to, you can bring the blanket or the roller underneath your knees and then let yourself go back into Shavasana. Now for Shavasana, you may want to put on another layer of clothing, or you may want to put a blanket over you. You may even have an eye pillow. I've got a stack of all of my things over there. There are eye pillows and tennis balls that are in a sock that you can put behind your neck. or blankets stacked so you can support maybe a blanket under your head, maybe a blanket over your body. Whatever it is that your body needs to feel supported for Shavasana. Now, if you don't know what Shavasana is, it's the relaxation posture. It's the place where we get to practice complete letting go, complete surrender. So arms are at your sides, palms up. You can slightly tuck the shoulders underneath, opening through the chest. Legs are extended straight out, and you may feel a slight rotation of the hips turning out. Tuck through the chin a little bit, just to lengthen through the back of the neck. And then you just surrender and let go. Now you just stay there. I'm going to get up for a second because I'm going to position myself so I can speak with you. Let yourself just go through kind of scanning the body and feeling into any place that might still be holding on. And see if you can breathe into that place and let it go. Just giving it permission to surrender into the earth. Scanning from the toes, letting the feet relax, ankles relax, lower legs relax. Scanning through and letting the thighs relax, the hips relax. The belly gets to relax. The chest, the shoulders, and the spine gets to relax. Arms, hands, relaxing. Neck and throat, face, scalp. Let the inside of you relax as well. Organs of the body, as the breath rises and falls in the belly. Let all of you relax, letting go into the earth that supports you. And let's return to this idea of the power of life, that spring is in all of us and all around us. And with it is the promise of growth, and with it is that natural emerging of new, of birth, of beauty and inspiration, of freshness, of ideas and ways that are encouraging, blossoming, producing, manifesting. And that energy is like the sap that's rising in the tree of life within you. So feel the energy of the life force that wants to move through you, that wants to express the unique gift and way that you are here to blossom anew at this time of spring. Let yourself see in you what wants to be seen, what wants to be known, what wants to be explored and acknowledged and integrated and allowed even more fully. And as you do, relax into knowing that that is your nature and that that hope springs eternal in and through your heart. place, we're going to chant the sound of Om together 3 times, acknowledging, honoring, inviting that part of us with even more gratitude and delight. Bringing in the only into the breath, into the belly, into the heart. Shanti, 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 Om. Peace, peace, peace. Jagagwan, I honor the light within you. May you know this place of spring, eternal, within you. Namaste. So letting yourself roll to your side and come to a seated position. Bringing yourself back up and maybe hands at the heart in Namaste position. And just take a moment to honor yourself, thanking yourself for showing up to practice yoga today. And honoring the others that made this possible for you, to be able to get away and share this time, integrating body, mind, and spirit with the practice of yoga. And also turn outward into the world at large, to the communities and the people all over the world. May we all find this spring eternal from our heart's longing, and see it manifest with joy. Namaste, and we'll see you next week.